Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to defend my argument for the motion, this house as a first-generation immigrant parent of color in a predominantly white country would choose to live and raise children in an ethnic enclave. Today, it is a fact that in this world there are a lot of people who are looking for the fortune in a new country, and also there are also a lot of refugees from war-torn country looking to live more peacefully in a new country, starting a new life basically, and almost all of them are full by a sense of desperation. It is telling that they are willing to move out of a familiar environment where people they love, where their family, their friends all live in their original country. They are all willing to leave all of them to seek out a new life, to create a new living in a new country who they may not know anything about. They may not know the language of the destination country. They may not even know about the culture, the new culture, and it is almost guaranteed that they will face difficulties in the new life in a new country. And therefore, as first immigrant parent, as people who are foreign born, who has relocated and become a citizen in a new country, they will naturally want their children to live a better life than them when they're in where the life where the parents have a previous life, they are surely more difficult, and because humans are naturally wary of something new, it is most likely that in a predominantly white country, the white people there will give a hard time to the immigrants because people are almost guaranteed to be afraid of an unknown element, and therefore it is our belief that first immigrants should be the first immigrants as first generation immigrant parent will choose to live and raise our children in an ethnic enclave, which is a community where people of the same nationality, of the same ethnicity, and people who are probably more familiar to us as the first generation immigrant, and therefore and therefore living in a familiar environment after being uprooted from the original country, we believe that it will give us more benefit that way. Why? Let me explain the first point. Because usually first generation immigrant parents are people who are freshly uprooted from the original country. It is understandable that they would not be able to quickly adapt to the new environment, and therefore it can also this kind of difficulty can also transfer to the children. Therefore, by living in an ethnic enclave where in any enclave, if they have difficulties from being an immigrant in their workplace or in school, it is more beneficial for at least the home to be in a familiar environment, because in that way, when they come home after a long day of work, they can finally let down the guard. They can finally distress, so that by being surrounded in a familiar environment, by people, by neighbors who are also understanding of the position, people who has also been in the same shoes as them, and therefore if the stress level gone down, it will then result in the lower stress level, and if the stress level is lower, then the productivity at school, at the workplace will surely increase, and therefore it can give other people a positive view of these new immigrants, that they are actually quite resourceful, they are actually quite good at the job, they are actually quite good at their studies, so that by forming a positive view of immigrants in this new community, in this new country, then the people there will be able to accept the immigrants as part of the citizen of the country, and therefore they can also integrate more peacefully, and so that's all of my point. Thank you for listening.
As the Deputy Prime Minister, I would like to further elaborate and give more arguments regarding the motion given this time. So regarding the stress, as my Prime Minister have explained, as a parent, we want our children to have less stress, to have the better environment, because we believe that the less stress that the kids receive, the more better results that the kids will show, whether it is in academics or other stuff. So that's why we as parents want the children to be exposed to as less as possible risk that exists, because we understand that why we choose to raise our children in an ethnic enclave, because we understand that the native citizens, based on real life, are not very accepting of the immigrants, because they are afraid that the immigrants might take their job. The immigrants are not the native citizen of the country. That's why a lot of native citizens are not really welcoming the immigrants, and that's why we want our children to be exposed less stress as possible, because if we raise our children outside of the ethnic enclave, we believe that the children might receive more hate and bullying from the native citizens, and that's why we don't want our children to have such risk, to have that kind of risk. And then second, we want our children to be better at adapting the environment. Yes, we, the first generation immigrant parents, have already lived there for quite a long time, of course, and we already start to adapt. But it is a different case for children, because let's say they just born, they are still children, they still need time to adapt. they cannot suddenly just be attacked by the hate from the native citizens. We need them to adapt to make sure they are not overwhelmed by all the things that happen in their life. We want them to adapt, and so that's why we want them to live we want to raise our children in ethnic enclave, because we want them to be better at adapting to the environment, to the culture as a children. So that's why when they grow up later and become adults, in case if they want to move out from the ethnic enclave, they can do better. And then there's also the fact that, thirdly, for safer environment, there's also the fact, like I said before, immigrants are not really welcomed by the native citizens. In a lot of cases, we have seen, for example, in America, the native citizens are discriminating the immigrants. For example, there's Chinese immigrants, they will say some bad words regarding them, or in worst case, even violence can happen. That's why we want to raise our children in ethnic enclave. Why? Because it is a safer environment for them, and it is better for their mental health too, regarding the stress. And as a parent, we should understand that we never want harm to happen upon our child, whether it is mental harm or physical harm. We don't want that. We must understand this point as a parent. We don't want our children to receive any harm at all. I understand that some harm is necessary, but if possible, we want to mitigate the harm. We want to lessen the harm. That's our point. And then we have to understand that why ethnic enclave exists. Because in the very first place, ethnic enclave exists for a safe haven for the immigrants. Why? Because perhaps they are insecure, being treated badly by the native citizen, and then to shield themselves from the native citizens. Although it cannot be helped that they still have to face the native citizens, but at the very least, they won't be disturbed most of the time. So we have to understand that. And then I believe that our best outcome from the opening government is that as we are creating the best environment for the children, it will make a better settling for the country. In the end, the country will benefit. Although we are immigrants and we might be living in ethnic enclave where the strong sense of nationality are still strong, but in the end, we will first and foremost think of the interest of the country itself. Because why? We are living there, not living in the original country of the parents. We are living there, the country that we immigrate to. So that's why I believe we will still prioritize the interest of the country. That's our best outcome. By creating best environment, it will create better settings for the country. And then the worst outcome that we can predict, the child might be more enclosed or reluctant to have non-immigrant friends. Yes, because probably they keep mingling with the immigrants, but in the end, as they grow up, they will get used to the native citizens, and I believe that they will, in the end, be friends or not that reluctant to mingling with the native citizens. That's all. That's why I propose the motion. Thank you.